So on the first question on immigration, so let's get into this in the right way, okay? So and I think we try to do this in the report. We found no evidence that there is a link between levels of migration and higher levels of needs. Employers are going to be offering jobs to young Brits before migrants for a very simple reason, that there's a bigger pool now of unemployed, not in education and employment Brits, than there are migrants coming in. So honestly, the equation has changed. So I think you just got to get this sort of couched in the right way, because honestly, it's one of those issues. It's a blame game issue. We just sort of blame immigration as the problem. It's not really. It isn't. So I think that is the right way to frame it. So on the first question on immigration, so let's get into this in the right way, okay? So and I think we try to do this in the report. We found no evidence that there is a link between levels of migration and higher levels of needs, okay? It is true, of course, that over these last few years, over these last 10 or 15 years, migration levels have been high, and very often the workers who are coming in, particularly in the low-skilled sectors of the economy, hospitality, maybe retail, hospitality more particular, they've been coming into sectors that traditionally young people have been in. So sure, that's been happening. I'd like to sort of couch it in a slightly different way, if I can, which is, I think migration is now an opportunity to help solve the need problem. We're on a downward trend of migration levels. Down, not up. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it seems to be pretty consistent. All the economists tell me that it will keep falling and we could have a minus net level of migration figure before too long. That may well bounce back, but we're probably not going to get back to anywhere like we were in previous times, around 1 million. And frankly, to be honest, too many employers have been on easy street. They've been able to import labour from overseas rather than grow labour and skills at home. And now they've all got a problem. Talk to any employer. Talk to employers in hospitality at the bottom end of the labour market. Talk to employers in technology at the top end of the labour market. And they will all complain about the same thing, which is a shortage of skilled labour. So where are they going to recruit from? There's a pool of labour. Is it straightforward? Is it easy? No. Is the pastoral burden for an employer higher? Yes, it is. And that means, back to some of these questions about national insurance contributions, and we've got to accept that the pastoral burden for employers will be higher, and therefore the support that employers will need, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, will be higher too. So I think you just got to get this sort of couched in the right way, because honestly, it's one of those issues. It's a blame game issue. We just sort of blame immigration as the problem. It's not really. It isn't. So I think that is the right way to frame it. This problem, as I said, in my speech, it goes back decades, and it's been one of those issues that, people have seen it, but they've not really looked at it. You can't have a consistent Neet rate of 10% for 25 years. It's only fallen once below 10% during the pandemic. Okay? So this is a structural thing. And it's obviously a really difficult thing to deal with, So the easiest thing is to do the blame game. Everybody wants to blame everybody. Blame the smartphones, blame the parents, blame the benefit system, blame the employers, blame the politicians. Sure, blame the politicians, fine. But that doesn't get you anywhere. It really doesn't. You've got to understand what the hell is going on, why it's getting worse, not better. You've got to take a systems-wide view of it. And what is unique about what we try to do here is we've tried to look at it through a systems lens, both on the supply side and the demand side, and that will point us to getting answers that are sustainable. I was saying at the end of my speech that the last thing that you need is a new policy and a new program. If you look at these things, some of them are perfectly good. New Deal, I was part of it. It was a perfectly good thing. Kickstart, introduced by the Conservative government, perfectly good thing. Where is it today? Nowhere. These things are temporary. One of my advisors said to me in the course of a conversation, he said, isn't it a bit crazy that once in a generation, politics decides that this is a really big issue, and then we invent from scratch a brand new policy and a brand new program? Well, what is needed is a sustained strategy and proper architecture, and that is what we're going to do. Well, I think employers are going to be offering jobs to young Brits before migrants for a very simple reason, that there's a bigger pool now of unemployed, not in education and employment Brits, than there are migrants coming in. So honestly, the equation has changed. And I view this as a really big opportunity, but it's not straightforward, okay? It's easy to say, oh, well, we'll just replace the apple with the apple. It isn't. This is apple and pears. You know, you're bringing in a migrant worker. They're often experienced. They're often a bit older.
Well, we asked Alan Milburn to do this report because I've been really worried about young people and the number of them that are out of work. This is a long-standing, long-term problem. It's been going on for many years. It's complicated and complex, as Alan Milburn makes clear. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason. So obviously we will now work with Alan on what more needs to be done. I'm pleased that some of the measures we've already put in place are coming on train next month. So particularly the stuff about apprentices. We've been talking to apprentices here, vitally important for young people. So what we put in place is £3,000 support for any employer that takes someone who's been unemployed for 6 months, a young person, and gives them an apprenticeship, that start that they need. Also, if a young person's been out of work for 18 months, we're guaranteeing a job for them for 6 months. We know from previous experience that that gives them a good chance of maintaining that job. So some of those measures are in place. We clearly need to go more. This is, I think a real sobering report, and we cannot afford, we will not allow a lost generation. And so we'll work with Alan now on what more needs to be done.